Martha Stevens looked at herself one more time. Her blue sweater still looked nice even though she bought it many years ago. She smoothed down her gray skirt and smiled. Today was important. Her daughter Emma was bringing home her boyfriend Tyler Brooks. He worked as a police officer helping keep the neighborhood safe. Martha fixed her silver earrings and checked her makeup. She was 54 years old now. She could see little wrinkles by her eyes when she smiled really big. But she still felt pretty good about herself. She walked back to the kitchen where chicken was cooking in a big pan. Fresh bread was sitting on the counter getting warm. The table had plates and forks all ready. She also made a big salad with tomatoes and cucumbers from the garden. Martha had been cooking all day long. She wanted everything to be perfect for Emma's special dinner. Emma was 23 years old and worked at a bank counting money and helping customers. She lived with her mom and dad in their small house. Emma had some boyfriends before, but none of them were very nice. One boy forgot her birthday 3 times. Another one only wanted to play video games and never took her anywhere fun. It had been a whole year since Emma went on any dates. Martha worried that Emma might be sad and lonely forever. But then something wonderful happened 2 months ago. Emma went to a charity event where people were raising money to help sick children. Her best friend Sophie invited her to come along. That's where Emma met Tyler. He was tall with short brown hair and kind blue eyes. Tyler was 35 years old. He was a police officer in the city. Emma said he always opened doors for her and remembered everything she told him. He brought her flowers every single week. They went to nice restaurants for dinner. He even bought her a beautiful necklace with a silver heart. After just 3 weeks of dating, Tyler asked Emma to marry him. He got down on one knee and everything. Emma was so happy she cried and said yes right away. Martha thought it was very fast. She wondered if they should wait longer to really know each other better. But Emma explained that when people are older like them, they already know what they want from life. They don't need to waste time dating for years and years. Tyler also told Emma he wanted to have children soon. So the faster they got married, the better it would be for starting their family. This made sense to Martha. She stopped worrying so much and felt excited instead. A loud knock on the front door made Martha jump a little. Martha quickly took off her cooking apron and looked at the table one last time. Everything looked perfect. She walked fast to open the door. Standing outside was Emma, looking beautiful with her long blonde hair in pretty waves. She wore a new pink dress and sparkly earrings. Next to her stood Tyler. He was very tall, wearing a dark blue suit. In his hands he held red roses and a box of fancy chocolates. "Good evening, Mrs. Stevens," Tyler said in a deep, friendly voice. He handed her the flowers. "I'm so glad to finally meet you face to face." Martha took the roses and smiled really big. "Thank you so much. Please come inside. Make yourselves comfortable." Tyler walked into the living room and looked all around the house. He nodded his head like he approved. "This is a very nice home. Feels warm and welcoming in here." "Thank you," Martha said, feeling a little shy. "Please come sit at the dinner table. Everything is ready to eat." Martha's husband Robert Stevens came out from his office to say hello to everyone. Robert worked fixing big machines at the water treatment plant. He was a quiet man who didn't talk much but always kept his promises. He worked at the same job for 25 years. Everyone at work respected him because he was so good at his job and always told the truth. The men shook hands firmly and said nice things to each other. Then everyone sat down at the dinner table together. Dinner was really nice and friendly. Tyler talked about his job as a police officer. He explained how hard it was to catch bad guys and keep the city safe. He said it was important to follow the rules and make sure everyone was treated fairly. Tyler spoke in a way that made you want to listen to every word. Martha found herself thinking that Emma was really lucky. This man seemed strong and dependable, like someone Emma could count on no matter what happened. "I've always believed that family comes first before anything else," Tyler said while cutting his chicken into small pieces. "Jobs and money and fancy titles don't matter as much. Having a strong family with a loving wife and children, that's what really matters in life." That's real happiness. Robert nodded his head agreeing. Martha smiled, feeling warm inside. Emma just sat there quietly moving her salad around on her plate with her fork. Martha noticed Emma wasn't eating very much. But she thought maybe Emma was just nervous about the dinner. "Tell us about your family, Tyler," Martha asked politely. Tyler's face changed and looked sad for a moment. "My dad died 8 years ago. His heart stopped working one day. My mom couldn't handle losing him. She got very sick and died just 1 year after Dad. I have a younger sister named Lily. She lives in her own apartment across town and works in an office typing on computers. We talk on the phone sometimes, but we don't visit each other as much as we should. Family is the most important thing." Martha sighed sadly. "You have to take care of your family members and love them." "I completely agree," Tyler said. He put his hand on Emma's shoulder. "That's why I love your daughter so much. She will be the center of my whole family." Martha felt tears starting to form in her eyes. "Finally you found a good man," she couldn't help saying. She turned to Emma with a real smile. "I'm so happy for you, sweetheart." Emma gave a small tight smile and looked back down at her plate. Martha didn't think too much about it. Again, she just thought Emma was nervous. Tyler squeezed Emma's shoulder really hard. His fingers pressed so tight that Emma had to bite her lip to keep from making a sound of pain. "I will do everything I can to make your daughter happy," he promised them. "The wedding is happening in 2 weeks. Emma will be my wife. We already went to City Hall and signed all the papers. Everything will be official and beautiful. I rented a big fancy room at the Riverside Hotel. I invited 150 people to come celebrate with us. Your daughter deserves only the best things." Robert raised his glass of water up high toward the young couple. "To their happiness and good health." Everyone clinked their glasses together and took a drink. Tyler put on quite a performance. He asked about family traditions and customs. He asked about the parents' health and offered to help them with anything they needed. He mentioned that he could help Marcus, Martha's younger son, get an internship at the police station once he finished college. Marcus was studying criminal justice and wanted to be a detective. Tyler promised to help Robert too if anything bad ever happened at his job. Martha felt like she was melting from all his kindness and attention. At last her daughter had found someone who would take good care of her and protect her. When dinner was over, the young couple got ready to leave. Tyler politely said goodbye and thanked them for the delicious meal. He invited Emma's parents to come visit his apartment next week so they could talk about wedding plans and details. Emma put on her light jacket and picked up her purse from the chair. At the door, she reached into her pocket to get her gloves. But one glove slipped out and fell onto the floor. Emma didn't seem to notice it fall. Tyler already had her by the arm and was pulling her quickly toward his car outside. "Emma," Martha called out. She bent down to pick up the glove. But her daughter either didn't hear or didn't want to turn around. The front door closed with a bang. Martha stood in the hallway holding the soft leather glove in her hand. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't figure out what exactly. It was like a little voice in her head trying to warn her about something. She turned the glove over and over in her hands. Suddenly she felt something hidden inside the glove. Her heart started beating faster. She stuck her fingers inside and pulled out a folded piece of notebook paper. The paper was crumpled like someone had written on it quickly. Martha's hands started shaking as she unfolded the paper. She saw messy handwriting that looked rushed and scared. The words she read made her whole body go cold. "Mom, help me. During the wedding you have to stop." The message ended suddenly, like Emma got interrupted or was afraid of getting caught. Martha read the note 3 times trying to understand. What was she supposed to stop during the wedding? Her hands were shaking so badly now. She was breathing really fast. Something was very, very wrong. Something was terribly wrong with this perfect boyfriend and this rushed wedding. And the word help scared her more than anything else in the whole world. Martha Stevens held the paper with her daughter's scary message in her trembling hands. Her eyes kept reading over and over the shaky letters. The words were clearly written very fast, maybe in a bathroom before leaving the house. She tried to figure out what her mother was supposed to stop during the wedding. Why didn't Emma finish writing the note? What had happened to her? Why was she being so secretive about this? Robert walked by heading to his office. He saw his wife standing frozen by the door. Why are you just standing there? Come help me clear the dishes off the table. Wait, Martha whispered. She was staring at the note under the bright hallway light. Vince, look at this. Her husband came over, squinted at the paper, read it, and then shrugged his shoulders. She probably just wants you to help her plan something for the wedding. You know how weddings are. People forget to do one thing or another. Don't think too hard about it. But Martha couldn't calm down at all. She knew her daughter really well. Emma was straightforward and honest. She always said exactly what was on her mind. If Emma needed help planning the wedding, she would have just asked out loud. She wouldn't create a secret spy operation with a hidden note in a glove. No, this was something else. Something scary and dangerous. Martha couldn't sleep at all that night. She tossed and turned in bed thinking about every single detail from the evening. Emma's fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. How Emma avoided looking at anyone directly. How she jumped and flinched when Tyler put his hand on her shoulder. How quickly Emma left like she was afraid to stay even one more minute. And there was one more detail Martha remembered in the middle of the night. During dinner, Tyler had to step away to answer a phone call. When he left the table, Emma's whole body relaxed. Her shoulders came down. Her face looked softer and calmer. But the second Tyler came back and sat down, all the tension returned to Emma's body. The next morning Martha called her daughter's phone. Tyler answered instead. Good morning, Mrs. Stevens. Emma is busy right now and can't talk. Something wrong? No, I just wanted to thank her for coming to dinner yesterday. I need to speak with my daughter, please. She'll call you back later, he said shortly. Then he hung up the phone. Martha frowned and felt confused. Why was Tyler answering Emma's phone for her? Why wouldn't he let Emma take the call from her own mother? She tried calling 3 more times during the day. But every single time she got the same answer. Tyler would answer and say Emma was too busy to talk. By evening time, Emma's phone was completely turned off. Martha's worried feeling turned into real panic. The next day she decided to go to Emma's work. Emma worked at a bank helping people with their accounts. The bank wasn't too far from downtown. Martha remembered the address and quickly drove there. She went up to the 3rd floor and walked into the bank office. She spoke to the lady at the front desk. Hello, I'm Emma Stevens's mother. May I please see her? The receptionist raised her eyebrows, looking surprised. Emma quit her job a week ago. Didn't she tell you about that? Martha felt like she couldn't breathe. She quit. But why? How come? Emma turned in her resignation letter. She said she was getting married and wanted to focus on being a wife and homemaker. Her boss tried to convince her to stay. He even offered her a promotion with more money. But Emma insisted she had to leave. Though she seemed really sad about it. We were all surprised because Emma loved working here so much. Martha left the bank office feeling completely confused and lost. Her daughter quit her job and never told her parents anything about it. That was totally unlike Emma. Emma always shared big decisions and asked for her mother's advice about everything. Something was wrong. Something was terribly, terribly wrong here. When Martha got back home, she found her son Marcus. He was 20 years old studying criminal justice at the local college. He was sitting at the kitchen table looking through a textbook about laws and crime. He was clearly doing homework for school. Martha sat down across from him and looked at her son very carefully. Marcus, have you noticed anything strange about your sister lately? Marcus looked up from his book and thought about it. Honestly, yeah. She called me about 3 weeks ago crying on the phone. She said something about feeling trapped. I asked her what was wrong and what she meant. But she got scared and hung up really quickly. Then she called me back an hour later. She said everything was fine and she was just stressed about wedding planning. I didn't push her to tell me more. And 2 weeks ago I ran into her by accident near the shopping mall. She was with Tyler. He was holding her arm super tight. I could see his fingers digging into her skin. When I asked if they wanted to grab coffee with me, Tyler said they didn't have time. He basically dragged Emma away before she could even say goodbye properly. Martha felt a cold chill run down her whole back. Trapped. She whispered quietly. Son, do you know anything else about this Tyler person? Only that he's a police officer. Emma introduced us once at a coffee shop downtown. He seemed way too controlling, I guess. He kept watching everything we talked about. He even watched where we looked with our eyes. When I asked Emma about her job at the bank, Tyler answered for her instead of letting her speak. When the waitress brought us menus, Tyler ordered food for Emma without even asking what she wanted to eat. I felt really uncomfortable, but I figured that was just his personality. You know, some men think taking care of a woman means making all her decisions for her. Martha stood up and started walking back and forth across the room. All the pieces of the puzzle were clicking together into a really scary picture. Her daughter's strange behavior. The rushed wedding with only 2 weeks' notice. The note asking for help. Quitting her job without any warning. The boyfriend's controlling behavior. Being isolated and cut off from her family. What was happening to her Emma? That evening Martha tried calling her daughter again. No answer at all. Then Martha decided to try something different. She found Tyler Brooks's profile on social media. His page was set to private so she couldn't see much. But she noticed a name in his friend list that caught her eye. Lily Brooks. Martha clicked on the profile and realized this must be Tyler's sister. They had similar features and the same last name. Lily's page was public so anyone could see it. Martha scrolled through and saw photos of a woman who never smiled. She looked sad even in birthday party pictures. Under one of the photos a friend had left a comment. Lily, when will you finally start living your own life? Lily had simply replied, when I'm allowed to. Martha sent her a private message through the website. Hello Lily. I'm Emma's mother. Emma is engaged to your brother Tyler. I desperately need to speak with you. This is very important. Please write back to me. A reply came back just 30 minutes later. Let's meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. A corner cafe on Maple Street. I'll be wearing a red hat. Please come by yourself alone. Don't tell anyone about our meeting. This is extremely important. Martha felt the tight feeling in her chest ease up just a little bit. Maybe Tyler's sister could help her understand what was really going on. She went to bed that night with a strong plan to find out the truth. She would save her daughter from whatever danger was hiding behind the perfect image of a happy wedding. The corner cafe was on a quiet street away from all the busy traffic. Martha walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. She immediately saw a woman wearing a red hat sitting way in the back corner of the restaurant. Lily Brooks was about 35 years old. She had short black hair and a nervous expression on her face. She jumped a little when Martha walked up to the table. Hello, are you Lily? Yes, please sit down. The two women sat across from each other. A waitress came over with menus, but both women said no thank you. They just ordered hot tea. Once the waitress walked away, Lily spoke first. I understand why you wanted to meet with me. You have doubts about this wedding, don't you? Martha nodded and pulled out the scary note from her purse. My daughter left this for me. She's asking for help, but she didn't finish writing what kind of help. I can't reach her on the phone. Her phone is turned off. Her job said she quit working there. What is going on, Lily? Who is your brother really? Lily closed her eyes like she was gathering up her courage and strength. My whole childhood was spent living next to a bully. Tyler is 3 years older than me. Ever since we were little kids, he loved controlling everyone around him. When I was 9 years old and he was 12, he was already telling me what clothes to wear. He told me who I could be friends with and who I couldn't. If I didn't obey him, he would tell our parents made-up lies about bad things I supposedly did. Then I would get punished. But he was the perfect son in their eyes. He got straight A's in school. He played sports and won trophies. He helped around the house with chores. And I was seen as the problem child who caused trouble. Lily took a sip of her tea and then kept talking. Our parents are gone now. First our dad died. His heart stopped while he was at work. 1 year later our mom got cancer and died too. Tyler was 28 years old then, and I was 25. Tyler decided it was his job to take care of me and look after me. Even though I was a grown adult and independent, I've lived in constant fear ever since then. He tells me who I can talk to. He tells me where I can go. He even tells me what I should wear every day. I had a boyfriend once named David. We were planning to get married and start a life together. Tyler threatened to make up a fake criminal case against David if I didn't break up with him. I didn't believe Tyler was serious. I thought he was just trying to scare me. But 1 week later, David was arrested on the street by police officers. During the search, they said they found a bag of illegal drugs in his jacket pocket. David swore up and down it was a setup. He said he never used drugs in his entire life. But the judge sentenced him to 3 years in prison. After that, I realized Tyler wasn't joking around. Growing horror built up inside Martha as she listened to this story. Oh my God. But why do you put up with it? Why don't you ask for help from someone? From who? Lily asked sadly. He's a police officer. He has power and connections. Who would believe me over him? He has a reputation as a perfect law enforcement officer. His colleagues at work respect him. His bosses think he's wonderful. And me? I'm just his sister who everyone thinks is spoiled and dramatic. Tyler created that image on purpose so that no one would ever question whether he was telling the truth. You know, he once told me this. Lily, I'm protecting you from yourself. You're too trusting and too soft. The world is cruel and dangerous. I won't let you make mistakes that will hurt you. He genuinely believes he's doing the right thing by controlling me. That's the scariest part of all. Martha listened carefully and then asked, "Tell me, what do you know about Emma? How does Tyler treat her?" Lily took another sip of tea and paused to think. I've seen them together a few times. Tyler treats Emma exactly the same way he treated me my whole life. He monitors her every single move. He installed security cameras inside their apartment. He says it's for safety, but he's really using them to watch her constantly. Emma can't go anywhere without getting his permission first. Tyler forced her to quit her job at the bank. He said a police officer's wife shouldn't be working with money and numbers all day. He plans to get her a new job somewhere else. That way he'll know all her co-workers and her boss personally. I tried to talk to Emma once when I saw her at the grocery store. Tyler stepped away to pay at the register. I had maybe 2 minutes alone with her. I asked if she was okay and if she needed help. Emma looked at me with such sadness and fear in her eyes. I understood everything without her saying any words. But I didn't have time to say anything helpful. Tyler came back too quickly. God. Martha covered her face with both hands. But why did Emma agree to marry him? Why didn't she tell me what was happening? Lily leaned closer across the table and spoke in a quieter voice. Because Tyler is threatening her. He's threatening to hurt you and your husband and your son Marcus. Tyler told Emma that if she calls off the wedding, your husband Robert will lose his job at the water treatment plant. Tyler knows the company's CEO personally. He can easily arrange for Robert to get fired. You'll lose your job at the medical clinic where you work. Tyler will file a fake complaint through someone he knows in the health department. And your son Marcus will be framed and arrested for a crime he didn't commit. Tyler will plant evidence just like he did with my boyfriend David. Tyler is a professional at this. He knows exactly how to make up a fake case. He knows what evidence to plant and what witnesses to find who will lie for him. Emma chose to sacrifice herself and her freedom to keep her whole family safe. Martha felt tears streaming down her face. All this time her daughter had been suffering in total silence just to protect her loved ones. But there must be some way out of this. We can't just give up and let him win. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Martha with determination in her eyes. There is one way, but it's very risky and dangerous. Tyler isn't as clean and perfect as he seems to everyone. He's been protecting an illegal gambling operation. It's run by a crime boss named Victor Kane. Tyler gets paid a lot of money to look the other way and not arrest anyone. Plus Tyler was having a secret affair with Jessica Miller. She's the wife of his boss, Chief Douglas Miller. Jessica recently divorced her husband specifically because of the affair with Tyler. Douglas found out about the cheating and kicked Jessica out of their house. But right before the wedding, Tyler broke up with Jessica. He decided to marry young beautiful Emma instead. Now Jessica is absolutely furious about being dumped. She's been gathering evidence against Tyler. She's planning to use it as leverage if Tyler ever tried to leave her. And now she has all the documents, recorded conversations, and photographs. She has everything needed to completely destroy Tyler's career. Martha wiped her tears away and sat up straight in her chair. "Can you connect me with this Jessica person?" Lily said. "But you must understand how risky this is. If Tyler finds out that we met today, if he finds out that I told you all of this, he will stop at nothing to punish us. Your daughter's situation will become even worse than it already is. Tyler could lock Emma inside the apartment. He could take away her phone completely. He could isolate her so that no one can reach her at all. My daughter is already living in hell," Martha said firmly with strength in her voice. "I will not allow Tyler to destroy her entire life. Please connect me with Jessica. I am ready to do whatever it takes." Lily nodded and pulled out her phone. She dialed a number and spoke briefly. She didn't give many details, but the person on the other end seemed to understand what was happening. The conversation ended after just a few minutes. "Jessica has agreed to meet the day after tomorrow. 6 o'clock in the evening at the park by the big fountain. She'll be wearing dark sunglasses and a gray coat. Just please be very careful. Don't tell anyone where you're going or who you're meeting. Tyler doesn't just watch Emma. Sometimes he watches me too." Martha wrote down all the meeting details on a piece of paper. She thanked Lily and the two women said goodbye. Each of them walked away in different directions. Martha went back home with a heavy heart. But she also felt a new sense of hope growing inside her. She now knew exactly who she was fighting against. And she would not back down no matter what. Martha spent the next 2 days in painful waiting. She didn't try to call Emma because she didn't want to make Tyler suspicious of anything. But she thought about her daughter every single minute of every day. How was Emma feeling right now? Was she suffering and scared? Was she hoping someone would rescue her? At night Martha had terrible nightmares. She dreamed her daughter was locked in a cage. Tyler was holding the key, but he wouldn't use it to let Emma out. Martha would wake up covered in cold sweat. She couldn't fall back asleep. Finally the day of the meeting arrived. Martha left work early. She told her boss she had a dentist appointment. Then she drove to the city park. It was early fall weather. The trees were covered in orange and yellow leaves. The air was cool and crisp. There weren't many people by the fountain. Just a few mothers with baby strollers. An elderly couple sitting on a bench feeding pigeons. Some teenagers walking a big dog. At exactly 6 o'clock a woman wearing a gray coat and dark sunglasses walked up to the fountain. She looked around carefully, noticed Martha, and walked straight toward her. Jessica Miller was an elegant woman in her late 30s with blonde hair cut short. She had a slim figure and a cold expression on her face. She sat down next to Martha on the park bench. She didn't take off her sunglasses. "You're Tyler Brooks's fiancée's mother. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Jessica smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "I'm used to secret meetings and drama. Lily told me you want to stop this wedding from happening." "Why?" Martha quickly told her everything. She explained about the note, what she learned from Lily, and all her fears for her daughter's safety. Jessica listened without saying anything. Her face stayed blank and emotionless the whole time. "I understand completely. Tyler is a master at manipulating people and situations. He used me to get power over my ex-husband. I was married to Chief Douglas Miller for 12 years. We had a calm, peaceful life together, but there wasn't much excitement or passion. When Tyler came into my life young, ambitious, and charming, I completely lost my head and fell for him. He told me he loved me deeply. He said he was ready to do anything for our happiness together. I believed every word he said. I divorced my husband and destroyed my family for Tyler. Then Tyler immediately became cold and distant toward me. It turned out he only needed me as a way to control and influence Douglas. Once Douglas and I got divorced, Tyler decided I was useless to him. He threw me away like garbage. But I'm not the type of woman who forgives something like that easily. Do you have proof and evidence against him? Jessica pulled a small USB drive out of her coat pocket. Everything is right here on this. Recordings of phone conversations where Tyler discusses the protection scheme with Victor Kane. Photographs of their secret meetings. Copies of documents showing large amounts of money being transferred into Tyler's bank accounts. This is enough evidence to open a serious criminal investigation against him. But there's a big problem. Tyler is a police officer. To open a case against him, you need permission from the police chief. That would be my ex-husband Douglas Miller. And Douglas won't give that permission easily at all. He doesn't like scandals that could damage the police department's reputation. Plus, despite our divorce, he still has complicated feelings about me. If I go to him with evidence against Tyler, Douglas might think it's just revenge from an angry ex-wife. He might not believe anything I tell him. Martha felt her hope beginning to fade away. So there's nothing we can do to stop this. We can do something, Jessica said. But we have to act very publicly where lots of people can see. If a scandal happens right in front of many witnesses, if Tyler is caught doing something wrong where everyone can see him, then an investigation can be opened through a special emergency procedure. The law has an exception for cases where a police officer is caught committing a crime in public. Then you don't need the chief's permission beforehand. You just notify him afterwards. How can we make such a public scandal happen? Jessica took off her sunglasses and looked directly into Martha's eyes. At the wedding ceremony, I will show up there with all this evidence. I will publicly accuse Tyler in front of all the guests. If Tyler tries to use violence, which knowing his personality is very likely, it will all be filmed on camera. We just need to make sure there are journalists and reporters among the wedding guests. They need to be doing a live video broadcast online. Then Tyler won't be able to cover up what happens. Douglas Miller will be forced to support an investigation. Otherwise, he himself will be accused of covering up Tyler's crimes and protecting a corrupt officer. Martha thought carefully about this plan. It was very risky and dangerous, but there was no other option available. What about Emma? Martha asked. Emma asked me to help during the ceremony in her note. Maybe she wanted me to fake a kidnapping so she could escape. Jessica shook her head no. That's not a real solution to the problem. Even if Emma escapes and runs away, Tyler will find a way to take revenge on your family. He will carry out all his threats against you. Your husband will lose his job. You'll lose your job. Your son will be framed and put in jail. And Emma will be found sooner or later. How long can she hide from a police officer with connections everywhere? And when Tyler finds her, things will be so much worse for her. The only real solution is to completely destroy Tyler. Strip him of his power, his connections, and his ability to hurt anyone. Then he'll be powerless and toothless. Emma will be free and your whole family will be safe. Martha nodded slowly. She knew Jessica was absolutely right. Running away and hiding meant looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life. They had to stand and fight. I agree with your plan. What do I need to do? Invite journalists and reporters to the wedding. But don't tell anyone they're journalists. Present them as distant relatives or old family friends. Make sure they have equipment for a live video broadcast. I will arrive at the height of the celebration. Wait until after the ceremony is complete and all the guests are seated and eating. The rest will be my job to handle. Martha took the USB drive that Jessica handed to her. She hid it carefully in her purse. Thank you so much. You have no idea how grateful I am for your help. Don't thank me yet. This won't be easy at all. Tyler is very dangerous. He might try to disrupt our plan if he suspects anything is wrong. Be extremely careful. Don't tell anyone, not even your husband, about our meeting today. The fewer people who know about the plan, the better our chances of success. How do I explain why journalists are at the wedding? Tell people they're work colleagues or old family friends visiting from out of town. Tyler is unlikely to check every single guest on the bride's side of the room. He has over 100 of his own people invited. The two women said goodbye to each other. Martha walked back to her car feeling determined and strong. She knew the hardest part was still ahead of her. She had to organize everything perfectly so Tyler wouldn't suspect a thing. But for her daughter, she was willing to do absolutely anything. There was 1 week left until the wedding. Martha acted very carefully but also very decisively. The first thing she needed to do was find journalists willing to help with the plan. She couldn't go to big major news stations. The risk of someone leaking information was too high. Tyler had connections and friends everywhere. Any careless word could ruin everything. Martha remembered Nathan Price, a journalist who worked for a small independent online news site called Truthwatch. He had written an article about local corruption several years ago. His story caused a big stir and lots of people read it. But several powerful politicians threatened to sue him. The publication was forced to print an apology. Nathan continued working as a journalist but more carefully now. He chose topics that wouldn't attract attention from influential, dangerous people. Martha found his contact information through a friend who had given him an interview once about healthcare problems. The meeting with Nathan happened the very next day at a small cafe on the edge of the city. The journalist was around 28 years old. He wore an old worn jacket and faded jeans. He looked tired but his eyes sparkled with interest when Martha began telling her story. So a police officer is blackmailing your daughter and protecting an illegal gambling ring? He asked when Martha finished explaining. That's a very serious accusation. Do you have actual proof? Do. Martha showed him the USB drive. Recordings, documents, photographs. Everything is here. But for this plan to work, we need publicity and witnesses. The wedding is in 1 week. We need cameras and a live video broadcast. Can you organize this? Nathan thought about it carefully, rubbing his chin. This is dangerous. Tyler Brooks is an influential man with power. If we make a mistake, if the evidence isn't strong enough, he will destroy all of us completely. I'll be fired from my job. The news site will be shut down. Things will be even worse for your family. The evidence is very solid, Martha assured him. It was collected by someone who had direct access to Tyler. She knows all the details and specifics. Nathan, I understand the huge risk. But my daughter is in serious danger. If I don't help her right now, she will suffer for the rest of her entire life. She might not even survive this marriage. I've read about abusive relationships. The abusers don't stop. First it's psychological pressure and control. Then it becomes physical violence. I can't just sit around and wait for that to happen to my baby. Nathan looked at Martha intensely. He could see the fierce determination in her eyes. All right, he finally said. I don't work alone. I have colleagues who also do investigative journalism. We can come to the wedding pretending to be regular guests. We'll do hidden recording with small cameras. If the scandal truly happens like you're planning, we'll start a live broadcast through our website and social media. But you need to understand this is extremely risky. Tyler won't forgive this. He might try to destroy not just us journalists, but you and your whole family too. I understand the risks, Martha said firmly. But there is no other choice. We have to do this. Nathan nodded his head. "'Kay, we're in. Give me the address of the wedding venue and the exact time. We'll prepare everything. We'll need a cover story explaining who we are and how we're connected to the bride." Martha thought for a moment. "Say you're friends of my cousin from another state. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it to the wedding, but she asked you to deliver a gift and her congratulations. Tyler doesn't know all my relatives and acquaintances. He won't bother to check." "Excellent plan. We also need one of your immediate family members to know what's happening, just in case something goes wrong and we need backup. My son Marcus. He's studying criminal justice. He understands what's at stake. I will tell him everything." Martha gave Nathan all the necessary information and they worked out the final details. Nathan promised to bring 2 more colleagues, Sarah and Kevin, to film from different angles. That way nothing important would be missed. Martha felt a weight slowly lifting from her chest. The plan was really taking shape now. That evening she told Marcus about everything. Her son listened very carefully with a serious frown on his face. "Mom, this is incredibly risky. If something goes wrong, we could all be in danger." "I know, son. But we can't just sit by and watch your sister suffer." Marcus nodded slowly. "I understand completely. I'll be at the wedding staying close. If Tyler tries anything violent, I'll step in to help." "No, Art," Martha said using his nickname. "Don't try to be a hero. Just be ready to call 911 if the situation gets completely out of control. We need police backup ready." The next day Martha was finally able to talk directly to Emma. Her daughter called on her own, but the conversation was very short and tense. Martha could hear music playing loudly in the background. Tyler must have been home in the apartment. "Mom, everything's fine. I've just been really busy with wedding preparations. Sorry I haven't returned your calls. Emma, I found your note. I understand everything that's happening. I will help you. Please trust me." There was complete silence on the phone line. Martha could hear her daughter's breathing getting faster and faster. Then Emma said very quietly, "Mom, please don't do anything dangerous. I can handle this myself. He's here right now in the room." "Have to go." "No, sweetheart. You're not alone in this. I won't let Tyler ruin your entire life. Just trust me and wait. Everything will be okay soon." Emma started crying. Martha heard her quiet sobs and barely held back her own tears. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, darling. Everything will be fine. Promise you." The phone call ended abruptly. Tyler must have walked into the room. Martha squeezed the phone tightly in her hand. She made a promise to herself that she would not fail her daughter. The remaining days before the wedding flew by incredibly fast. Martha coordinated everything with Nathan, making sure all the plans were on schedule. The journalists prepared their equipment carefully. Small compact cameras, hidden microphones, and smartphones ready for the live broadcast. Jessica also kept Martha informed of her own preparations. The woman had hired a lawyer, Stephen White. He was an experienced attorney who was ready to immediately represent her interests if anything went wrong. Jessica had also contacted internal affairs investigators who worked independently. They weren't close to Tyler and were ready to act if grounds for an investigation appeared. The day before the wedding, Martha met with Lily one last time. Tyler's sister looked extremely tense but also determined and strong. "Tomorrow everything will be decided. I'll be at the wedding as a guest. If anything goes wrong with the plan, I'm ready to confirm all the accusations against my brother in front of everyone. I'm tired of living in fear every single day. Whatever happens, I can't stay silent anymore. Thank you, Lily. Nothing would have worked without your help and courage. I hope that after tomorrow both of us, you and my daughter, will finally be free. We can start living real lives for ourselves." Martha hugged Lily tightly and the two women said goodbye. Each of them went their separate ways. The big day was finally approaching. The day when everything was supposed to change forever. The morning of the wedding was bright and sunny. Martha woke up very early feeling both nervous anxiety and strong determination. She checked all the details of the plan one more time. Nathan and his colleagues were supposed to arrive as distant relatives of the bride. Jessica would appear at the height of the reception once all the guests were seated. Lily had confirmed she would be attending. Attorney Stephen White would be on standby, ready to leave his office at any moment. The wedding was taking place at the fancy Riverside Hotel by the water. The celebration was planned to be very lavish and expensive. Tyler spared no expense to show off his social status and power. City officials, colleagues from the police department, and influential business people were all invited. About 150 people in total. Martha put on the same blue sweater she had worn when she first met Tyler. Robert and Marcus also dressed in their nicest formal clothes. Her son noticed his mother looked very tense and pale. "Mom, are you okay? You look really nervous." "I'm fine, Marcus. Just worried about your sister and what's going to happen." Marcus nodded. He knew the entire plan and was ready to act if necessary. The family drove together to the hotel venue. On the way there, Martha kept checking her phone. She was waiting for a message from Nathan. The journalist had texted that they were already at the location. They had taken seats at a table with a perfect view of everything. The hotel welcomed them with pure luxury. High ceilings with sparkling crystal chandeliers. Crisp white tablecloths on every table. Fresh flowers everywhere, white lilies, roses, and daisies. The arch for the outdoor ceremony was decorated with flowing cream-colored fabric and green vines. Guests arrived one after another, taking their assigned seats and chatting excitedly about the celebration. Martha looked around carefully and spotted Nathan with his two colleagues, a man and a woman. They looked just like ordinary wedding guests. Nothing seemed unusual or suspicious about them. Nathan caught Martha's eye for just a second and gave a tiny subtle nod. The marriage ceremony took place in a separate room decorated beautifully. Emma looked extremely pale. Her hands were shaking badly as she signed the marriage certificate. Her wedding dress was absolutely gorgeous. It was made of white lace with a long flowing train. But the bride's face showed no happiness or joy at all. Tyler, on the other hand, looked extremely pleased and confident. He smiled widely, accepted congratulations from everyone, and held his fiancée's hand incredibly tight. It looked like he was afraid Emma would run away. Martha looked at her daughter and felt deep pain in her heart. Emma was beautiful in her white wedding dress, but her eyes were filled with such sadness and fear. This was not a happy bride getting married. This was a prisoner waiting desperately for someone to save her. After the ceremony ended, all the guests moved to the big reception hall. The celebration began with music playing. There were toasts and congratulations and dancing. Tyler played the role of happy groom absolutely perfectly. He gave speeches thanking everyone for coming. He danced with his new bride. Martha watched Emma trying so hard to smile, but it looked completely forced and fake. 1 hour passed slowly, then a second hour. Martha began to worry and feel anxious. When would Jessica appear? She checked her phone secretly. No messages at all. Nathan sat at his table watching everything carefully. The cameras were ready and hidden, but they weren't recording yet. And then, just as the main dinner course was being served to everyone, and the guests had relaxed and were enjoying their food and wine, a woman in an elegant black dress walked into the reception hall. Jessica Miller. She walked very confidently. Her high heels clicked loudly on the marble floor, drawing everyone's attention. Conversations died down completely. Guests turned in their seats wondering who this stranger was. Tyler looked up from his plate and his face turned completely white. He recognized Jessica instantly. Jessica walked straight up to the newlyweds' table at the front of the room. She stopped directly across from Tyler. "Good evening, darling," she said in a cold, icy voice. "Did you really think I would just step aside quietly and let you forget about me?" Tyler jumped up from his chair. "Jessica, what are you doing here? Leave immediately right now." "No," she replied calmly. "First, these people need to know the truth. They need to know who you really are. They need to know the truth about the man this poor girl just married." Tyler grabbed Jessica's arm roughly, but she yanked it away from him. "Don't you dare touch me. Or do you want me to tell everyone here how you protect Victor Kane's illegal gambling ring? How you take bribes and dirty money? How you betrayed your boss by sleeping with his wife? How you used me to influence the police chief's decisions?" A loud buzz erupted throughout the hall. Guests started whispering to each other. Some people jumped up from their seats in shock. Chief Douglas Miller, Jessica's ex-husband, was sitting at one of the main tables. His face turned bright red. His expression showed anger and deep humiliation. Right here in front of everyone, his shame and embarrassment were being made completely public. Tyler tried to grab Jessica again, but she stepped backwards quickly. She raised her hand high holding the small USB drive. "All the evidence is right here. Recordings, documents, bank statements. Everything needed to put you in prison where you belong. Phone calls with Victor Kane discussing your cover-up schemes. Photos of your secret meetings. Financial records showing transfers of huge amounts of money into an account that actually belongs to you. Tyler completely lost control of himself. His face twisted with pure rage and fury. He lunged at Jessica, trying to grab the USB drive from her hand. Jessica screamed loudly. All of this was being filmed by Nathan and his colleagues. They had started the live video broadcast immediately. Wedding guests were pulling out their phones and recording everything. Tyler shoved Jessica backwards hard. She fell to the floor, hitting the edge of a table. Emma jumped up from her seat, covering her face with both hands. Martha rushed over to her daughter and wrapped her arms around Emma protectively. "It's over, sweetheart. You're free now." Chief Douglas Miller rose slowly from his seat. His face was still red with anger, but he was composing himself. In a loud, commanding voice he announced to everyone, "Call Internal Affairs immediately. I demand action be taken right now." Tyler stood in the middle of the reception hall, breathing heavily. He was realizing that everything had collapsed around him. His career, his power, his carefully made plans. Everything was completely destroyed in just one instant. He tried to walk toward the exit to leave the hall, but his path was blocked by several guests. They were former colleagues who didn't want him to escape. "You're not going anywhere, Brooks," one of them said firmly. "We all just witnessed what you did. You used physical force against a woman in public. That's assault. You won't get away with this now." The reception hall descended into complete chaos. Tyler Brooks stood in the middle of it, all finally understanding the scale of the disaster. Jessica Miller rose from the floor where Tyler had pushed her. She held up the USB drive high for everyone to see. "Here is all the evidence of his crimes. Recordings of conversations with the crime boss Victor Kane about protecting the gambling operation. Documents showing money transfers. Photos of secret meetings. Everything needed to open a criminal investigation." Chief Douglas Miller's face showed anger mixed with humiliation. The scandal involving his ex-wife and his own officer was unfolding before hundreds of important witnesses. Many of them were influential people in the city. The video was already spreading rapidly across social media websites. Nathan and his colleagues were running a live broadcast on their news site. The view counter was climbing incredibly fast. "Tyler Brooks," Chief Miller said coldly, "I strongly recommend you contact a lawyer immediately. I will forward these materials to Internal Affairs right now." Tyler tried desperately to maintain his composure. He straightened his tie and smoothed down his jacket. "Chief Miller, this is all a provocation. This woman is getting revenge on me for ending our relationship. Everything she's saying is complete lies." "Lies." Jessica held the USB drive even higher. "Then why did you try to grab this from me? Why did you push me down? All of this has been recorded on dozens of cameras. Indeed, half the wedding guests were holding up their phones filming everything." Tyler realized that denial was completely useless now. He cast an angry, threatening look at Jessica. Then he looked at Emma, who sat at the table being held by her mother. "If you set this up, you will regret it," he hissed through clenched teeth at his new bride. "No," Emma answered softly but with strength. "The only thing I regret is not finding the courage to stand up to you much sooner." Tyler turned sharply on his heel and quickly left the reception hall. Several of his colleagues followed him out, probably to see how serious the situation really was. Chief Douglas Miller walked over to Jessica. "Hand me that USB drive, Jessica. I will personally ensure its security before transferring it to the investigators." "No," Jessica replied firmly. "Tomorrow morning I will personally present all the materials to Internal Affairs myself. I have backup copies, so you don't need to worry about losing evidence." Chief Miller pressed his lips together tightly but nodded. He understood that his own reputation was hanging by a thread now. His ex-wife's affair with his subordinate officer. Corruption and bribery within his own police department. All of it cast a dark shadow over his career. He needed to act quickly and decisively to show that he did not protect or cover for corrupt criminals. Martha Johnson held her daughter tightly, not letting go. She stroked Emma's hair and whispered comforting words. Emma was shaking even though the room was warm. The shock and the built-up tension from months of suffering were all pouring out now. "Mommy, is it really over? Can he not hurt me anymore?" "Yes, honey. Now Tyler has to answer for his own crimes. You are completely free." Robert and Marcus stood nearby looking stunned but ready to offer support and protection. Nathan Price walked over to Martha and showed her his phone screen. The live broadcast had reached over 40,000 views already. National news outlets were starting to pick up the story. "Tyler won't be able to sweep this under the rug," Nathan stated confidently. Martha nodded, her eyes still fixed on her daughter. "Thank you so much. None of this would have been possible without your help and courage." Lily Brooks, Tyler's sister, slowly approached the newlyweds' table. Her face was wet with tears, but in her eyes for the first time in many years there was something like relief and freedom. "Emma, I'm so sorry for everything. I should have stopped him much earlier. I was too scared. I was a coward." Emma reached out and squeezed Lily's hand. "You did help us. You connected my mother with Jessica. Without you we never would have known the truth. Thank you for being brave." Lily stood there crying, and Martha reached out and embraced both women together. They were all Tyler's victims in different ways. And now they were all finally finding their freedom. The wedding guests gradually began to leave the reception. The celebration was completely ruined. But nobody judged the bride or her family at all. On the contrary, many people approached them offering support and encouragement. They said Emma had done the right thing by refusing to be intimidated and controlled. Some women quietly confessed that they too had once been in similar abusive situations. They said they understood exactly what Emma had gone through. The Stevens family left the Riverside Hotel late that evening. Emma went home with her parents instead of with Tyler. At home, Martha tucked her daughter into her old childhood bedroom, the same room Emma had lived in before meeting Tyler. "Sleep now, my girl. The worst is behind you now. Mom, what happens tomorrow? Tyler won't just stop. He might come after us." "No, Emma. Things are completely different now. Internal Affairs will handle his case. Most importantly, the whole city and the whole country knows about his crimes now. He can no longer hide behind his official position and his badge." Emma closed her eyes slowly and Martha felt her daughter gradually falling asleep. She kissed Emma gently on the forehead and quietly left the room. Her husband Robert was waiting for her in the living room downstairs. "Vince, can you believe what our girl went through? Our Emma endured that nightmare all to protect us." Robert pulled his wife close and hugged her tightly. "You saved her, Martha. You're an incredible strong woman. I'm so proud of you." The next morning, the news of the scandal at the police officer's wedding was on the front pages of all the local newspapers. It was trending on national news websites. The video from the reception had been viewed over 800,000 times. The public was demanding an immediate full investigation. Support groups for Emma were being created on social media. Women from all over were sharing their own stories of domestic abuse and psychological control. Jessica Miller, keeping her promise, appeared at the Internal Affairs office at exactly 10 o'clock in the morning. She brought the USB drive with all the evidence. She also brought a written statement detailing every one of Tyler Brooks's crimes. She was received by senior investigator James Foster and his team of assistants. The materials were examined immediately and carefully. The recorded phone conversations where Tyler discussed schemes to cover up illegal gambling activities with Victor Kane. Photographs of meetings at restaurants and secret locations. Bank statements showing regular transfers of large sums of money into accounts registered to fake companies but actually belonging to Tyler. Everything was thoroughly documented and organized. Jessica had been preparing for this moment for many months. In addition to Jessica's evidence, testimony was provided by Lily Brooks. She gave a detailed account of her brother's controlling nature. She explained his methods of intimidation and threats. She also provided information about several other instances where Tyler had used his official position for personal gain and revenge. By lunchtime, the Internal Affairs leadership made their decision. They would open a criminal investigation. Since the case involved a police officer, the procedure required a special careful approach. Normally, opening a case against a law enforcement officer requires permission from the police chief. However, there was a special emergency procedure in the law. If an officer is caught committing a crime in public where many people witness it, a criminal case can be opened immediately without getting preliminary permission. Tyler's actions at the wedding clearly qualified. The use of physical force against Jessica, the attempt to seize evidence, the threats made against his bride in front of hundreds of witnesses and dozens of cameras. Internal Affairs sent official notification to Chief Douglas Miller that a criminal case was being opened against Officer Tyler Brooks. The case included charges of receiving bribes, abuse of official power, and aiding illegal gambling activities. Chief Miller publicly stated that he fully supported the investigation. He said he would not obstruct internal affairs work in any way. He also ordered an internal review of the entire police department to identify any possible accomplices or partners of Tyler Brooks. However, when investigators arrived at Tyler's apartment to conduct a search and present the formal charges, he wasn't there. The apartment was completely empty. Neighbors reported seeing Tyler leave very early that morning. He had a large travel bag and drove away in a taxi. It was later discovered that Tyler had withdrawn huge amounts of cash from all his bank accounts the night before. Tyler Brooks was placed on the nationwide wanted list. A travel ban was issued at all airports and borders. But by that time, Tyler had already managed to leave the country somehow. According to some reports, he flew on a private plane to a small island country. That country did not have an extradition treaty with the United States. Rumors circulated that Tyler had connections with corrupt officials in other places. They helped him escape. He might have paid them off by transferring some of his illegally gained money. The investigation continued even without Tyler present. Victor Kane, the owner of the illegal gambling operation, was detained and arrested. During the search of his properties, documents confirming his connection to Tyler were found and seized. Victor began cooperating with investigators, hoping for a lighter sentence. He confirmed that he regularly paid Tyler large amounts for protection. He named specific dollar amounts and dates. Emma filed for divorce immediately. Given the circumstances and the fact that Tyler's location was completely unknown, the court decided to review the case without him present. The marriage was officially dissolved 1 month later. Emma received her divorce certificate. She felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. 3 months passed since that unforgettable wedding day. Life was gradually returning to normal for everyone. Emma found a new job at a large accounting firm. Her professionalism and skills were highly valued there. The company management knew her story well. The scandal had been too big and public to miss. But this was not an obstacle to her employment at all. On the contrary, many people admired Emma's courage and strength. Her new colleagues treated Emma with respect and kindness. Nobody asked intrusive questions or gossiped about her past behind her back. Her department supervisor, Mrs. Patricia, was a woman in her late 50s. She had a wise, kind gaze. She invited Emma for a private talk one day. "Emma, I want you to know you are completely safe here with us. If you ever need support, help, or just someone to listen, I am always ready. You are a very strong young woman. I believe everything will work out wonderfully for you." Emma thanked her sincerely. At that moment, Emma felt like she was truly starting a brand new life. She really enjoyed the work. It distracted her mind from heavy, painful thoughts. She analyzed financial reports and conducted audits for clients. She worked with interesting people on complex projects. Gradually, her self-confidence and self-worth returned. But Emma still sometimes had nightmares at night. Tyler would appear in her dreams, threatening and chasing her. Emma would wake up in cold sweat. She would grab her phone and check the news. She wanted to see if Tyler had been found or if he had somehow returned. The fear had not completely let go of her yet. Martha Johnson insisted strongly that her daughter start seeing a professional therapist. Emma resisted at first. She thought she could handle everything herself. But her mother was absolutely firm about it. The first visit to the therapist was difficult and uncomfortable. Emma sat in the small office, unsure where to even start. She felt vulnerable and weak. But the therapist, Dr. Rebecca Foster, was an experienced woman in her early 50s. She managed to put Emma at ease right away. "Emma, what happened to you is absolutely not your fault in any way. You were the victim of a manipulator and an abuser. Many women go through similar terrible experiences. The important thing is not to get stuck living in the past. You need to learn to move forward, to trust yourself and others again." The therapy sessions took place once a week. Gradually, Emma began to open up more and more. She talked about her deepest fears. She talked about how Tyler controlled every aspect of her life. She talked about how she lost herself completely, becoming just a shadow. Dr. Foster helped Emma realize that the way out wasn't through running away or submission. It was through fighting back. And Emma had fought. She had won her freedom. Martha continued working at the community health clinic where she had worked for years. Her colleagues often approached her with praise and questions. They said she was courageous and asked for advice about similar situations. It turned out that many of them had faced similar problems in their own families. But they hadn't dared to take action. Martha always gave the same answer to everyone. Never stay silent. If you or your loved ones are in danger, seek help immediately. Contact the police, talk to lawyers, see therapists. Don't be afraid of public exposure. Silence is the price we pay for destroyed, ruined lives. Marcus successfully passed all his exams and threw himself into his studies with even more determination. The whole experience with Tyler completely changed his understanding of law and justice. He realized that law wasn't just a boring set of rules written in books. It was a powerful tool for protecting weak people from powerful abusers. He decided to specialize in criminal defense law. He planned to become a defense attorney after graduation. He wanted to help people who couldn't protect themselves from injustice. Lily Brooks moved to a neighboring city to start fresh. She got a job as an office manager at a construction company. She rented a small, cozy apartment. For the first time in many, many years, Lily felt truly free and independent. The connection with her brother Tyler was completely severed forever. Lily maintained a regular relationship with Emma. They sometimes called each other on the phone to share news and offer support. Both women understood they had suffered deep trauma. Mutual support and understanding helped them both move forward. Jessica Miller sold her city apartment and bought a small house in the quiet suburbs. She finally took up something she had dreamed about for years but never dared to try: painting. Her paintings were bright and full of raw emotion. It was like she was pouring out all her past feelings onto the canvas. A local art gallery agreed to exhibit several of her works. They unexpectedly found buyers who loved them. Jessica felt that she was finally living for herself instead of for someone else. Chief Douglas Miller was going through a very difficult time. The scandal with Tyler and the public discussion of his failed marriage dealt a serious blow to his reputation. Although he publicly supported the investigation and even received some praise from his superiors for his principled stance, he felt deep bitterness and loneliness inside. The divorce from Jessica had freed him on paper, but emotionally it had left him completely empty inside. He lived alone now in a large apartment. It used to be full of life and laughter. Now it felt like a cold museum. In the evenings, Douglas would sit by the window with a glass of wine. He would look at the city lights and think about everything he had missed in life. Jessica wasn't a perfect woman, but she had been his wife for 12 years. He hadn't managed to save their marriage and family. He hadn't even noticed how his wife had drifted away emotionally. He hadn't seen how a void had appeared in their relationship. That void had been filled by Tyler. Douglas tried to throw himself into work to forget, but he found less and less meaning in it every day. He realized he had lived his entire adult life serving the law and justice, but he had forgotten about the living, breathing person next to him. Jessica had needed his attention and care. Sometimes late at night, Douglas would dial Jessica's phone number. But he would hang up before it rang, unable to bring himself to actually call. What could he possibly say to her? Should he apologize? But apologize for what exactly? For being too busy with his important work. For not noticing her suffering and unhappiness. Words felt powerless and meaningless. One day Douglas happened to see an advertisement for an art exhibition at a gallery in the suburbs. He noticed the artist's name listed. Jessica Miller. He got in his car and drove there, not really knowing why. He walked into the small gallery and looked at her paintings hanging on the walls. They were full of pain but also hope and possibility. Bright, bold brush strokes. Vibrant, unexpected colors. Douglas realized with shock that he hadn't really known this woman at all. He had lived with Jessica for 12 whole years. But he hadn't known she could feel so deeply and express herself so beautifully. Jessica was there at the gallery talking with visitors and admirers. When she saw Douglas, she froze completely. They looked at each other for several long seconds. Then she slowly walked over to him. "Douglas, Jessica, I just wanted to see your work. It's truly beautiful. Thank you." They stood there in awkward silence. Then Douglas said very quietly, "I'm sorry, Jessica. I was a terrible husband to you. I didn't pay attention to you or your needs. I didn't notice you were unhappy and suffering. I am to blame for our family falling apart." Jessica looked at him with sadness in her eyes. "Douglas, we are both to blame for what happened. I didn't fight for our marriage either. I didn't tell you I was unhappy and lonely. I just left and had an affair. But now I understand that wasn't the right way to handle things. We should have talked honestly. We should have tried to understand each other. But we didn't even try. Maybe we could try again now. Start over." Jessica shook her head slowly. "No, Douglas. We have both changed into different people now. You found your meaning in your work and your career. I found mine in art and creativity. But we can remain friends. Good acquaintances without bitterness or anger or hurt." Douglas Miller nodded slowly. He understood she was absolutely right. Some things in life cannot be brought back or fixed. He said a quiet goodbye and left the gallery. At home he sat by the window again. But this time he didn't pour himself wine. He just looked out at the city lights. He thought that life goes on no matter what. And he too needed to learn how to live a new different kind of life. As for Tyler Brooks, he was never found or caught. The international manhunt continued for months. Interpol included him on their most wanted list. But there were no results at all. According to various rumors, Tyler was hiding somewhere in the Middle East under a completely new false identity. Perhaps he had paid off local authorities there. Perhaps he had found influential, powerful protectors. Nobody knew for certain. But for Emma and her family, it no longer mattered at all where Tyler was. The most important thing was that he could no longer harm them or threaten them. His career was destroyed forever. His connections were severed. His reputation was completely ruined. One late autumn evening, Emma stayed late at her office working. She was preparing an important annual report for a major client. She sat at her computer typing and calculating. A new colleague named Daniel Cooper peeked into her office. He was a marketing specialist who had joined the company about a month ago. He was average height with a pleasant, friendly appearance. He had dark wavy hair and warm brown eyes. "Daniel, are you still working? It's 9 o'clock already." Emma looked up from her computer and smiled tiredly. "The report is due the day after tomorrow. I want to finish the main part tonight, so I'm not rushed. Can I help you with anything? I'm pretty good with spreadsheets and I'm decent with financial statistics." "Thank you, Daniel, but I'm almost done anyway." Daniel didn't leave her doorway. He stood there for a moment. Then he said somewhat nervously, "Emma, I've been wanting to ask you out for coffee for a few weeks now. But I kept putting it off because I was nervous. Maybe we could go somewhere after you finish work. Just to talk and get to know each other better. No pressure or expectations." Emma felt frozen in her chair. Two completely opposite feelings warred inside her. Fear of new relationships. Fear of falling into another trap. Fear of trusting someone only to be hurt and used again. But also a desire to be normal. To open up to people. To feel warmth and connection. To try believing in people again. She looked at Daniel very carefully. He stood calmly without any tension or aggression. He didn't have that predatory controlling look that Tyler always had. Daniel was simply waiting patiently for an answer. He wasn't pressuring her or demanding anything. In his eyes was genuine interest, not invasiveness or manipulation. "All right," Emma finally said. "Coffee would be nice." Daniel's whole face lit up with a genuine smile. "Perfect. I'll wait for you downstairs by the exit." Emma finished typing the last lines of her report. She saved the file and shut down her computer. She put on her coat, grabbed her bag and went downstairs. Daniel was waiting in the lobby looking at his phone. When he saw Emma, he smiled warmly and held the door open for her. It was cool outside, smelling like autumn leaves and rain. They walked a couple of blocks to a small 24-hour cafe. Inside it was cozy and warm. Quiet music was playing softly. Warm yellow lamps glowed. They ordered cappuccinos and blueberry muffins. The conversation flowed easily and naturally. Daniel talked about his job and how he got into marketing after several years working at an advertising agency. He was interested in photography as a hobby. He showed Emma pictures on his phone. City landscapes and street photography. Portraits of interesting strangers. Beautiful sunsets. Daniel also enjoyed riding his bicycle on trails. Emma talked about her work and her colleagues. She explained how she liked working with numbers and documents. She enjoyed finding errors and solving puzzles. Daniel listened very attentively. He asked thoughtful questions. He laughed at her jokes. Emma felt the tight tension gradually leaving her body. She felt herself relaxing and being herself. When it was time to say goodbye, Daniel walked Emma to the bus stop. "Thanks for tonight, Emma. I really enjoyed talking with you." "Me too," she replied honestly. And it was completely true. "Maybe we could do it again sometime. This weekend, for example. We could go to a museum or see a movie." Emma paused and hesitated. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. But another part warned her. It reminded her of the pain and betrayal. It reminded her how easily she had misjudged Tyler. "Daniel, I need some time to think about it." "Course, absolutely." He didn't pressure her at all. No pressure whatsoever. "When you're ready, just let me know." He waved goodbye and walked away. Emma got on the bus and looked out the window the whole ride home. She was thinking deeply. Maybe this was the beginning of something good and healthy. Not now, not immediately. But gradually, step by step, she could learn to trust people again. Time heals wounds. And Emma was ready to give herself that time. Several more months passed by. Spring finally arrived, bringing warmth and new life. The city was filled with sunlight and blooming flowers. Emma and Daniel continued to see each other casually. But there was no rush and no pressure or obligations. They went to art museums together. They walked along the waterfront. They rode bicycles on trails outside the city. Daniel never asked intrusive questions about Emma's difficult past, though he surely knew the story. The scandal with Tyler had been too loud and public to miss. One beautiful day they were sitting on a park bench. They watched children playing on the playground nearby. A warm spring breeze rustled through the new green leaves on the trees. A street musician was playing guitar somewhere in the distance. "Emma," Daniel began carefully, "I want to tell you something important. I understand you've had a very difficult past. You don't talk about it and I will never push you. But I want you to know something. I don't need promises or vows or commitments from you. I just want to be around you. We can move as slowly as you need to feel comfortable. No pressure at all." Emma felt tears starting to well up in her eyes. She turned to look at him. "Daniel, you are a very good, kind man. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid to make another mistake. Afraid to trust the wrong person again. Afraid to lose myself." Daniel reached over and took her hand gently in his. "I understand completely, and it's okay to be afraid. But you know what I think? Fear shouldn't control and run our lives. Otherwise, we'll just stop living altogether. I'm not asking you to trust me right now. I'm asking you to give us a chance to get to know each other better. Be around each other and we'll see what happens naturally. Emma wiped away a tear and smiled softly. Let's try. From that day forward, their relationship grew warmer and deeper. They saw each other more frequently. They talked more openly. They shared thoughts and feelings. Emma gradually opened up, talking about her fears and what she had gone through with Tyler. Daniel listened carefully, never interrupting, never judging. He just offered quiet support and understanding. One day, Emma invited Daniel to meet her parents. Martha Johnson was very wary and protective of Daniel at first. She feared her daughter would fall into another trap again. But Daniel managed to win her over completely. He was polite and genuine. He didn't try to impress anyone or put on a show. He was just authentically himself. They talked about work, life, and future plans. Martha watched carefully how Emma looked at Daniel. She saw trust, interest, and warmth in her daughter's eyes. That observation calmed Martha's worries. After dinner, when Daniel had left, Martha sat down next to her daughter at the kitchen table. "He's a good man, honey. He seems truly decent and kind. But the main thing is, don't rush into anything. Let everything take its natural course in time." "I know, Mom. I'm not rushing at all. I need time to learn to trust again. But I feel genuinely safe with Daniel. He doesn't pressure me or demand anything from me. He's just there when I need him." Martha hugged her daughter tightly. "Then everything is exactly right. Time is the best healer of all wounds." In parallel with her personal life, Emma continued to develop and grow professionally. She was promoted to senior auditor at her firm. She was entrusted with more complex, challenging projects. Emma traveled for work, audited major companies, and compiled detailed reports. The work brought her real satisfaction and a strong sense of self-worth. The psychotherapy sessions also continued regularly. Dr. Foster noted Emma's tremendous progress over the months. "Emma, you have done truly remarkable work on yourself. You have learned not to blame yourself for what happened. You've learned to recognize manipulation and control. You've learned to say no and set boundaries. These are incredibly important steps forward. But remember, healing is not a final destination. It's an ongoing journey. There will be setbacks along the way. There will be hard, difficult days. That is completely normal." "I understand that," Emma replied. "Sometimes I still have nightmares about Tyler. Sometimes I flinch when someone raises their voice suddenly. But it's happening less and less often now. That's excellent progress. Keep going forward." Meanwhile, Lily Brooks got married to a wonderful man. She met Paul, a quiet, gentle engineer who genuinely loved her. He didn't try to control her or tell her what to do. Emma was invited to attend the wedding ceremony. It was modest and small, just a circle of close friends and family members. There were no pompous speeches or showy toasts, just people who loved each other and were happy for the newlyweds. Emma congratulated Lily warmly. The two women hugged tightly. Both of them felt like a circle had finally closed. They had transformed from helpless victims into strong victors. They had gone from broken and damaged into whole and powerful women. Jessica Miller opened her very own art gallery in the suburbs. Her paintings became increasingly popular with collectors. She was written about in local newspapers and art magazines. Jessica, too, had found her happiness. Came through creativity, through freedom, through the ability to live exactly the way she wanted. And Emma was finding her own future step by step. Gradually, day by day, she learned to live again fully. She learned not to be afraid of shadows. She learned to trust people again. Most importantly, she learned to love and value herself. 1 full year passed since the day Emma's life turned completely upside down. She was sitting in Dr. Foster's office for what would be her final therapy session. The therapist smiled warmly at her. "Emma, I think you're ready to complete formal therapy. You've done enormous healing work. You've succeeded beyond what most people accomplish. Thank you so much, Dr. Foster. I truly couldn't have done it without your guidance and help." "You could have done it," the therapist said kindly. Just would have taken much longer. But remember, if you ever feel you need support again, my doors are always open to you. Emma left the therapy office with a light heart and clear mind. Daniel was waiting for her outside in his car. They had planned to drive out of the city to enjoy nature and fresh air. They drove along a scenic winding road, past green fields and thick forests. They listened to music and talked casually about their plans. Daniel, I want to say thank you, Emma said suddenly, for being there for me, for your endless patience, for not rushing me into anything. You don't have to thank me for that, Daniel replied gently. I just did what felt right in my heart. They arrived at a beautiful clear lake. They spread a blanket on the grassy shore. They took out a thermos of hot tea and sandwiches. They sat together looking at the calm water, looking at the reflection of fluffy white clouds, looking at the slight ripple from the gentle wind. Emma, I want to ask you something, Daniel began carefully. But only if you're ready to answer honestly. Do you see a real future for us together? Emma thought about it for a long moment. 1 year ago she would have been absolutely terrified of such a question. She would have seen it as an attempt to tie her down or trap her, an attempt to restrict her freedom. But now she understood it was just a sincere question from a man who truly cared about her. I don't know exactly what will happen in 1 year or 5 years from now, Emma said thoughtfully. But I know that I feel good and safe with you right now. And I want that to continue. Without rush or pressure. Without commitments that feel like chains. Just together. Daniel nodded with a genuine smile. That's more than enough for me. They sat by the peaceful lake until the sun began to set. They talked and laughed. They simply enjoyed the moment together. Emma realized something profound. For the first time in a very long time, she felt truly completely free. Free from fear and anxiety. Free from the past and its shadows. Free from the dark memory of Tyler Brooks. When they returned to the city that evening, Emma stopped by her parents' house. Her mother was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Her father was reading the newspaper in his favorite chair. Marcus was sitting at the table with his law textbooks studying hard. It was an ordinary, comfortable family scene. A scene that Emma had almost lost forever. Mom, I want to tell you thank you, Emma said softly. Thank you for saving me. For not being afraid to fight for me. Martha stopped what she was doing and hugged her daughter tightly. I would do absolutely anything to make you happy and safe. You are my daughter, my precious child. I will never ever let anyone hurt you again. That evening Emma returned to her own apartment. The small cozy place she had rented after the divorce. It was filled with her own belongings and her own energy. She made a cup of tea. She sat by the window looking out at the twinkling city lights below. Life went on all around her. There was still much unknown ahead in the future. But now Emma wasn't afraid anymore. She knew deep in her heart that she would manage whatever came. She had gone through absolute hell and emerged so much stronger on the other side. As for Tyler Brooks, he was never found or brought to justice. The official search continued formally. But the chances of success were extremely slim now. Perhaps Tyler was somewhere far away across the ocean. Perhaps he was building a new life under a false identity. Or perhaps his dark past had finally caught up with him. Perhaps he got exactly what he deserved. Emma no longer thought about Tyler at all. He no longer occupied any space in her mind or her heart. He was simply gone from her life. Time heals. These simple words became not just an empty phrase for Emma. They became a real truth she lived every single day. Every morning she woke up a little bit stronger than the day before. A little bit more confident in herself. Emma learned to say no firmly. She learned to protect her boundaries. She learned not to feel guilty for other people's problems and choices. Most importantly, she learned to love herself fully. And while a wedding with Daniel wasn't being planned yet, Emma knew something for certain. If it ever happened in the future, it would only be on her own terms. Only when she was completely ready. No pressure, no rush, no manipulation. Just real love, mutual respect, and deep trust. Everything she had lacked before with Tyler. Life went on beautifully. And Emma was finally truly living. You know, when I look back at that blue sweater and the chicken dinner I cooked that night, I realize something important. We can be fooled so easily by perfect appearances. As parents, we want stability and security for our children so desperately. Sometimes we miss the quiet warning signs. The too tight grip on an arm. The forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes. The desperate note hidden in a glove. But this story isn't really about being fooled or tricked. It's about what happens when you decide to stop being silent. When you decide to fight back. Emma found her voice and her strength. Lily found her freedom and independence. And we as a family found a courage we didn't know we had inside us. The biggest lesson I learned through all of this: never ever be afraid to fight for your loved ones. Don't let fear keep you quiet and paralyzed. Because silence is the terrible price we pay for destroyed, ruined lives. Freedom isn't something you just wait around for hoping it will come. Something you actively take back with your own hands. Seeing my daughter Emma happy now, confident, and making her own choices, that's the most beautiful ending a mother could ever ask for. If you agree with me and enjoyed my story, please show it by clicking the like button. Let's see how many of you are out there. I'm curious, from which city and at what time are you listening to me right now? Please write it in the comments below. If you want to support me on my journey, you can send me a small donation. Thank you so much for listening and sharing your valuable time with me today. For more real-life stories like this one, you can check out the other videos on my channel and subscribe to Jamal's Stories. There are 2 brand new life stories on your screen right now. I'm sure they will interest you too. You can click on one of them and start listening right away.